And we're going to try and move rapidly, David. I know you're good at that when you know that's what we want. We're going to pull up S62.
Okay.
Is it in a format that combines all the amendments at this point or not?
I think so. I mean, to the extent you want to see the one additional change to the new relocating employee language that House Appropriations has adopted. It didn't do anything to change the adult CTE stuff, so that's all the same from the last time you saw it. I don't know if you want to see it again. It's up to you.
Yeah, I do want to see that very briefly.
Okay.
Again.
Let me start with the appropriations amendment, if that's okay with you.
Okay.
Because that will show the relocating employees all in one place. And so are you all seeing this here?
Yes.
So it's sort of ironic. This is kind of coming full circle. So after this is the proposal has left House Appropriations, it's no longer codified, which means, right now in session law, you have a remote worker program and you have a relocating worker program. And this would, of course, repeal those and in their place, or I guess beside them, put new relocating employee incentives. But those only disappear if you actually repeal them, which right now S62 does propose to do. And then we have the new relocating employee incentives. Everything is the same, 5,000, 7,500 procedures, implementations, reports, qualifying expenses, same as the House before. Relocating employee, same as the House before. Remember, they added public sector employers as specified nonprofits. They changed the wage threshold in subdivision C to be the livable wage rather than 160 and 140 of minimum wage. But then House Appropriations adds in one more piece, and that is what precipitates the change from a statutory permanent program to a more or less temporary program, because it says the individual has to be employed in one of the occupations with the most openings identified by the VDOL in the short-term employment projections for 2020 to 2022.
And
So that is the top 50 positions in Vermont that will have the most openings between those years, which obviously 2022 would run through next year, and then that's it.
Grocery store clerks, janitors.
yeah,
You
That's
go
a
down the line, low wage employment opportunities. And doctors.
And bartenders.
So I have spoken with Joan Goldstein. She has some real problems with this insertion. She says it's very, very limiting in terms of.
How do you advertise a program?
I didn't understand your the laws that we have on the books right now are all session law, right? On these programs?
They are, but those are just as valid as codified law, and they live on forever.
I understand, but we tried to codify it.
right. That's the whole purpose. of this.
They're coming back with a session law.
Yeah.
Yes.
But I mean, that is not for me the end of the world. I think in the purest sense, we want to get a program in the books, but it's always contingent upon funding year to year. And so far we haven't established this in base funding. So whether it's session law or codified is not as important as that the program continue into the next fiscal year. But you also said, and maybe you had gone over this before, you said the qualifying expenses hadn't changed. I thought they did change those, and they got rid of co-working space and broadband.
Well, I just meant they haven't changed since you last saw it. Like House Appropriations didn't make any change to the Commerce proposal.
Okay.
This is the Commerce proposal still, which is different from yours because yours included relocation and then broadband / co-working space.
Right.
So the major changes are qualifying expenses, this
Mhm,
top 50 employment, getting
mhm.
rid of remote workers, and um, I guess that's,
Well, public sector employers and the Vermont livable wage
and
threshold.
and the livable wage. Okay. Okay. Uh, let's not, uh, I don't like any of those changes, but I don't think they are necessarily the deal breakers here. Um, so other than maybe what the appropriation committee, I mean, one of the arguments I've heard is that we have all these need for Vermont workers. That's why they're willing to distinguish between a remote worker who comes to Vermont and works for a Vermont company versus somebody who comes to Vermont and continues their employ with Google or Amazon or somebody in Ohio. And I guess this is even going to the next level in subsection D of limiting the program even further. Okay, so and CTE, can we just review that? Or do you want to, are there other things, changes that Ways and Means made or anything like that?
Not to this, no.
Okay. Yeah, Ways
Sure,
and,
I'll bring up the CTE stuff. I think I saw Damien come in the room.
Damien here.
I have so many documents. S62 commerce. So the CTE, three streams of funding. One was the $100,000 to VSAC for tuition support, up to $1,000 per student. This functions either in standalone or could be supplemental to the advancement grants that sort of help provide the intangibles. CTE equipment is 150,000 to AOE. Competitive grants up to 20,000 for the purchase of equipment.
do you know how many centers we have in the state?
I really don't. I don't know.
I assume it's more than,
I can find out. It's remember they're regional, so they're I want to say, yeah, there aren't. I'll find out. There aren't.
I mean, okay.
Okay.
It says $20,000
The
amount.
third,
If there's only 6 in the state, they can't even spend that 150,000. So, but they're probably more than 6. And the last one was one I think we talked about before that we had some real problems with because it seems, we don't have to have all these independent curriculum development stuff, unless I'm misunderstanding this. But
Right.
it sounds to me like
Right. And we
need seven grants to coordinators to develop curriculums. I mean, it seems like there must be some commonality in these curriculums. Anyhow, I know the agency is really opposed to this, is putting the cart before the horse. And
yeah, both agencies.
right.
okay. Let's see. The third stream is the 150 to AOE on curriculum development.
Right. Okay. Okay. So in 62, we have this new appropriation of 400,000 to CTEs, and R62, as you remember, was just the relocated remote worker provision that had $1 million in it with a codification and a refinement of the program. Now, in 159, we put in, on our straw vote, we put in our entire S62. Did we put in CTE in our straw vote, do you know?
No,
No.
that was new from the House side.
What we do have in there is the study that we changed the dates on, and I understand Jay Ramsey added some language, David, that you worked on with House Commerce. And I think we agreed that we would put some of that those additional changes in that. But this is the cart, this is the horse, this study. So I think that that VDOL and AOE believe that this study has to happen before you hang anything on the work that emerges from that work.
Right.
That's my understanding.
Right.
And we
So-
haven't had them testify about that piece either. I mean,
No.
we haven't heard testimony on that 400,000. And as far as I understand, it's not in the budget, although I'm sure the budget people can work magic if they want.
So at one point in our negotiations, it seemed fairly a simple solution that jumped out at us. We don't have that many differences in 159, but other than the remote worker piece being eliminated and their addition of CTE. And we just said, look, we did hear from Hal Cohn, and we did hear from Amy Schollenberger. It seems to be an issue that, though I agree with Senator Clarkson, we haven't heard very much, that it wouldn't be it would be potentially acceptable. So in terms of just getting out of here and getting to the end game, we said, well, you can have your 400,000 for CTE if you just leave our remote worker alone. That was unacceptable to them. So that, is not being discussed anymore. So CTE is still very much in play, as is everything, because this whole thing is important to us. So, so let's go to 157. There were a couple of things I know the appropriators wanted to know about, and the House wanted to know about whether we could agree in principle, even though we may not agree on a bill with a vote yet. But if we can pull up that memo that Mike Marcotte sent to me last night, I think that you worked very recently with Commerce on potential changes to our straw voted 159.
Are we talking 159, Michael?
Yes.
Or, okay, not 157.
Did I say 157 again?
You did again.
Sorry.
It's okay. I just wanted to clarify what I was hearing you say was
159. I caused a lot of confusion yesterday with the same thing. Okay.
We all know what you mean.
Yep.
We're all living and breathing them all. Okay, so I'm going to share my screen. If that works for you all.
Is this on our website?
It's not.
Okay.
I guess, I guess this is this on their website?
No.
Yeah.
It's not?
No.
I thought this was
Okay.
9.1.
No, but this is House proposed changes to what we've straw voted.
Got it.
Yeah.
Okay.
You got a copy of this last night, Senator Clarkson.
Right. I know I did. It was hard to read it.
Well, I guess I would not, if they haven't posted it, I guess I wouldn't post it. It's sort of an offer. It's sort of an offer. So I
Can I
want
just back up for a second and just ask what exactly are we doing here vis-a-vis getting something done before we close the door on Friday?
good
Is
question.
this all relevant to action between now and the end of the week?
Yeah, it's critical, actually.
By noon, right? Today.
I think you have 3 hours.
Let me try and explain it. It's a good question. It's a confusing situation, as you know, Senator Brock.
Yeah.
This bill was the major bill that Commerce sent over to us this year. It's their economic development bill. It's essentially, I think for the most part, a compilation of the governor's requests in economic development with monies that are pretty close to what the governor recommended. As you know, the Appropriations Committee has taken all the monies that are in this bill and put them in the Appropriations Act. Pretty much all of them. There may be some differences in some numbers still. And they're looking to us to provide the guardrails to these. Things are moving so fast that the way the governor proposed most of these things in the budget and the way the Senate approved its budget was to say, here's $20 million for, or $11 million for capital investment funds. And they have no parameters for the program to guide the department. And in each and every one of these things, there's very little language accompanying. It's just appropriate this money to ACD to do capital investment funds. It's not like a VEPSI program where you have pages and pages of guidelines of how to do it. So we're trying to flesh out some, at least, language changes to give it to an appropriation is waiting for us to say that we've agreed on these language changes and we've agreed on the money. Theoretically, they'll take our money and they'll, if 159 passes, you'll notice the way David drafted it, he refers back to the sections in the budget that are very general and says, of the $11 million for capital investment funds, the money shall be used as follows. That's in 159. If we can't reach agreement on 159 or if it dies, then I hope the Appropriation Committee will take this document and basically cut and paste a lot of our language into the budget bill because those programs need some definition. So that's what we're doing.
Yeah.
And ask a follow-up question because I'm sure there are some.
Well, the first follow-up question is to get any of this done is going to take a bunch of rule suspensions, and those aren't guaranteed.
No, I understand that. And that's one of the things that I need to talk to you about. I'm trying to prejudge which ones would be controversial and which ones wouldn't be. I don't think these necessarily would be controversial. I think
Well, as far as I know, at least from my perspective, I don't think they will be, but I think it'd be important for me to have a conversation with my counterpart in the House just to know if we're wasting a lot of time.
well, we're not, because
Okay.
even if
I hear what you're saying. And
even if you don't give us
Right.
rule suspensions,
Yep.
guidance, we're trying to give appropriation, they can
No, I
cut and
understand.
paste those language into the budget.
But
Okay, I
Mr.
got
Chair,
Okay.
Mr. Chair, I just need to interrupt for a sec. I just got off the phone with the pro tem who is wanting to, she's just coming into the State House and she needs me to let you know that I think we probably need to take a break. If we could take a short break, I think Marcotte is trying to reach you. And I think there is a deal in the offing. So I think I think we need to just take a short break and have you call Marcotte if we give us a 5-10 minute break. And I think we need to do that because of our time frame today.
So you're suggesting right now, take that break or what? Right
Yep.
now?
I'm
Okay.
suggesting right now.
All right, well, why don't we come back at 9:10 and hopefully we'll be done.
Okay, great.
There will be one.